You're listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm your host, Jay Pryor. This isn't your usual gender reveal party. There will be no baby sex parts. This is the real reveal, where we reveal gender through stories of brave humans willing to share their lived experience. Enjoy the listening. I sure enjoy making it. Hi, and welcome back to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm Jay Pryor, your host. Today, I don't have an old friend with me. I actually have a new friend with me, which is kind of nice. We just met like last week, I think, right? We just met last week. And, his name is Dr. Scholar Lee, and that's how it's pronounced, like Scholar Lee. And I'm going to let him introduce himself. But I found him on LinkedIn, and we talked once, and he's one of these guys. The minute we started talking, we're like, oh well, we could just talk for days, and we should do a podcast. So we have a lot in common. I'm gonna just let you introduce yourself because I think you do it better than me. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Jay. I am greatly honored, and thank you for having me on your platform. Great people. My name is Dr. Scholar Lee. I go by the pronouns. My preferred pronouns are me, myself, and I, and we'll probably get into that in this journey. But I am a masculine-centered individual. I was born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I am let's say the least, a spiritual being who's transforming into his becoming. So my service and my mission, my mission is to educate, elevate, and empower people to lead with their truth, be who they are unapologetically, so they can be happy and to do it with resilience. So that's me in a nutshell.
Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I love that. And I want you to say again that like say what you said about coming into your being, that you're a spiritual being coming into your. Say that again.
Yes, I'm a spiritual being transforming into my becoming.
Oh, I love that. Transforming into your becoming.
Mhm.
Wow. Will you say more about that? What will happen if you transformed into your becoming? Will you disappear?
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
I think.
eventually, I think that's one of the goals, right? Well, the thing is this. I truly believe, and my inner knowing tells me that we are spiritual beings. We are spiritual
Absolutely.
beings nonetheless.
Absolutely.
And because we're spiritual beings, it eliminates the need to have to put yourself under gender roles. It eliminates the need to be aligned or, be pro-black or, against white or, not be Democrat. Because at the
Yes.
end of the day, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience instead of being a
Yes.
human being trying
Have
to
it.
find. But we have human beings who are looking for their spirituality.
Right.
Some aren't even in alignment with spirituality. They think it's religion, and honestly, it's two different things.
Right. I
Um,
talk about this all the time. There's such a big
yeah,
difference. And what I always say, doctor, is that there are people who are very religious that don't have a spiritual bone in their body. And I'm being sarcastic because they do. Everybody's
yeah,
spiritual. But there's a lot of religious people that it occurs like they've lost touch with their spirit. And then there's a lot of spiritual people who haven't ever stepped foot into church. So I think it's so important we make that distinction. I tease about it because I'm from the Midwest and we're country, and people here say spirituality. let's
spiritual.
let's talk about spirituality, should we?
Let's talk about spiritual.
Spirituality.
Yeah.
So we talk about spirituality a lot. And that's one of the things y'all, I mean, we started talking, and those of you who only know me from this podcast, this is interesting because see, my book is called Lean Inside, and all my other work is about, being a spiritual being, right? Coming in. And one of the things that I love that you said that I talk about a lot in my other work is there's a big distinction between believing and knowing. And when you say I'm in my knowing, it makes me wonder. We haven't had a lot of conversation. It makes me wonder, like, what some of the texts that we both have probably. I'm wondering what things we have in common, how we've come to this, right? Because for me, as a coach, we're trained to know that human beings think anyway that who they are, the stories they tell themselves. right? Now, what I know is that the stories they tell themselves has them show up as how they be in the world, right? So
Mhm.
if they have a story that they're bad at relationships, they may show up as, insecure in relationships. They may show, so that's how they be. But for me, I have a knowing that who they are or what they are is in my, there's no word for it other than love, star stuff. I mean, all those things. And I believe that science is even telling us that, right, in every way, right? The majority of us is space, that we are way more non-physical than we are physical, that we're spiritual beings. And so that what we are, who we are, is that spiritual being. And then the stories we believe about ourselves is how we show up or how we be in the world. And so because we're star stuff in love, this is where we agree, where I don't have to pick a side. Right?
No,
And I
right.
don't engage in the news because I don't want to know that stuff out there. As long as I'm being light and love, then I'm spreading light and love. And that's what I'm going to continue to push that ripple out. And that's why
Mhm.
when I met you, I'm like, this person is the same. We're the same in this way. And I love this.
Yes,
Yeah.
I truly feel, and you said a lot of truth there, but it's stories, right? I start off there, stories. Our identity is being taught to us through stories, right? When you're
Mhm.
born, you're being told, okay, this is the story of what boys do. This is the
Yep.
story of what girls do. This is the story of how society is, and this is our his story, and we're learning history and we're losing our identity in that instead of getting in alignment with who you are spiritually. And we have to, it is the stories we tell us that contributes to how we evolve. So if I'm telling myself that, you know what, I'm broke, I'm poor, because this is what society has told me, this is the story society has told me, because based on these credentials, this is where I fit in when it comes to this circle. So I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm black, so I'm a minority, I'm all these things, and then I'm getting upset about it because that spiritually isn't who I am. It's not even the fact that you are upset that you're being called this, called that by society, is because spiritually you're not in alignment with that.
Right.
That's
It
why
doesn't resonate.
spiritually, yeah, it
That's not
doesn't.
the
That's why
truth.
it's not. So when you're telling me I have to wear ruffle socks and dresses to church, okay,
You're like, that's not who I am.
I'm upset because spiritually I want to wear the pants.
That's right.
I want to wear the leather shoes that they run around in church in, not the leather shoes with the ruffle socks. Give me the straight, give me the white socks. So
Yeah.
that because spiritually you have an identity. And in this lifetime, being human, being a spiritual being, having a human experience, you have to navigate through the world and find your identity, because that's the hidden treasure. Once I find who I am, once I know who I am, then I can be who I am. And that's why identity is so key, because if I, like I just said, if I know who I am, I could be who I am, and then I can receive what my divine has in store for me. I don't fear of things being taken from me. I don't fear anything of that, because I have to focus on being me. If I stay in alignment with my assignment, which is to be me, then I make it less painful. But if I'm trying to be he, if I'm trying to be her, if I'm trying to be in this circle that's outside of me and doesn't align with me, then I find myself taking away from all of me, taking away from my authenticity, my genetic makeup, which is to be the unique being that I am. But because we have all these stories, right? And these stories don't align with us, it's causing me to be depressed. It's causing me to be frustrated, and it's causing me to be anger. And I'm now bargaining with my identity because I'm trying to make a story that someone created for me fit into my life instead of just taking the pen back and finish writing my story. I know his story. I know her story. All right. I know
Yeah.
history, but I need to create my story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do I need to do to get in alignment with my story and be bold enough to speak it, have the audacity to say, listen, I exist, I am here. I know Adam and Eve. God created Adam and Eve, but he created me too. And I'm
Yeah.
here to tell my story. I'm here to write my book, because there's plenty of different books in the Bible. We know that. And we're not, I'm not throwing shade towards that, but at the end of the day, let's not allow a story to deprive us from showing God's love to people,
Mm,
from allowing people to be different, from allowing people to create their story. My story doesn't have to be like the Old Testament. My story doesn't have to be like the New Testament. My life and my story is supposed to be how my life and in what it's my life is. So, and it's more so not like trying to understand who I am. And I think that's the barrier between society and us unique individuals, right? We're all unique, but those who speak boldly about their uniqueness, I should say. That's the difference between us, is because we're we're caught in the understanding. It's like me trying to understand algebra. I mean, I was crying. Okay, I was crying. I didn't understand. I didn't understand why
was
the letters and
crying.
the numbers was having a
Was
relationship.
crying.
Yeah, I didn't understand
He
why the
said he
letters
was
and numbers
crying.
were having a relationship. Like I didn't get it. So, but if if I obtain an understanding first, and understanding is having that inner knowing of who I am, loving myself,
Hmm.
embracing and accepting my differences, and accepting that I am unique too, and not being upset about being unique, not feeling emasculated because I want to wear pink today and not blue, not feeling emasculated because I like to jump rope and not play basketball.
Hmm.
Not feeling emasculated because I want to go get my nails done and not and want to have green hair. And extensions, or express the femininity about me. It
Hmm.
doesn't make me less of a man. It makes me more of a being. And I'd rather
Hmm.
be, instead of, be him, or be her. I'd rather
Right.
be me.
Right.
And that's why I feel that having an understanding allows you to then overstand the understanding. The
Yeah.
understanding is the last piece, but we're starting at the last piece, and it's causing frustration because anything you have to stand under, you have to force yourself to take in. If I'm under a rock, I have to force myself to get out of it. If I'm underwater, I have to have a certain level of force to get to the top. So if you're wanting me to understand you, you're forcing me to have to do something that is not part of my primary being. So if I have to
Yes.
understand
Yes.
transgender, if I have to understand that you were born this way and you identify this way, and I was born this way, and this is what the majority is saying, and this is flowing with the majority opinion of becoming, then yeah, me trying to understand your processes is not aligning with my processes, so it's causing an automatic resistance. And
Yeah.
that, but if you understand that, you know what, this was my process. I was born and I had these parts, and my transitions transformed me into this being.
Hmm.
Okay, with these body parts that align with some people and that don't align with some people. And here I have this man, here I have Dr. Scholar Lee saying he's a man, but he was born, assigned female at birth. Well, what does that mean? Because I have an understanding of who I am, I'm not going to feel emasculated because Dr. Scholar Lee says he's a man and he was assigned female at birth. I'm not going to feel emasculated. I'm not going to feel like your identity is now compromising my identity. I'm not feeling anyway because I have an understanding of who I am. I know who I am. I'm confident and Godfident. I like to say I'm Godfident in who I am. And now I'm open to your differences because even though I might be a cisgendered man, or even though I'm a transgendered man, I understand the world and its change and its evolution, and I know that differences is what creates the difference. So you're a different being. Teach me. Let me be vulnerable to learn your processes. You know,
Yeah.
and that's just how I feel. Understanding is the last thing. We go into these organizations and we go out here in this world trying to make people understand, and we're always going to get resistance
Yeah.
because we're not starting from the nucleus, which is the inner being. How can we spiritually connect? Because we can
Right.
spiritually connect without having to talk about gender roles, okay? Because
Right.
spirit is not gendered,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Yes.
There's no spirit in gender. So how did now I know you didn't just fall out the womb like this. How did you get there? Right? Because I mean, for me, it's been a journey, right? And it's an ongoing journey to deal with my own humanness, right? And then and my ego, whatever you want to call it. For me, constantly getting back to spirit. And before we go any further, I have some people who listen to my stuff who get a little activated by the word God. And when I speak often, I say God, you say love. I say God,
Hmm.
love, and that really works. So those of you who are listening, if you're activated a little bit, just think of love. You're fine.
Yes, yes,
You're all
yes.
right. We're just talking about love. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but tell us how you got here. How'd you get to this knowing of yourself? Because I'm guessing you, like I said, you didn't fall out the womb with this.
Mm. Yes. It was a journey. It was a humbling experience. Like that's the best way I could wrap it up. Imagine, waking up in this female body that doesn't align with your masculinity being or with the essence of who you are. That's more so the best way I could describe it.
Hmm.
And we don't learn about the essence of who we are because we're gendered. Okay. We're forced in this false religion, I like to call it. And it, my experiences, it was traumatizing, but it was healing at the same time. Um, I was raised in a black culture, African descent culture, and we didn't know about being trans or anything like that. All I knew was I wanted to be a male, and it was because I was taught what males do and I was taught what girls do, and I wanted to do more what males did. I didn't feel like what girls were doing. That's all that was. And because you put a language now or you put a concept now on the essence of who I am. So it's not really that I'm male or female. It's the fact that this is what you define certain things as.
Right.
And this is what I am, based on your definition, this is what I will identify as.
Hmm.
So I got here through experiences, life experiences. The main thing I had to learn through my transition, and that's in life, I'm not even talking about being transgendered. In life, I had to learn to love myself because I was taught not to.
Mm.
And when I say I was taught not to, that's because I was taught to be what society wanted me to be. I was taught to fit under these labels. I was taught to practice this religion. I was taught to obey these people because they're your parents or they're your elders and they're right because they're older than you. And your voice really doesn't matter. Don't talk when adults are talking. Do what adults say. I don't care if it's your teacher or your gym teacher, okay, or the pastor at the church. You do what they say because they're older than you. And when you're taught that, you don't give yourself the opportunity to think on your own. You don't give yourself the opportunity to feel that your voice matters. So I lived with suppression. I like to put it like this. Transitioned. I made the choice to transition when I was 30 years old. That is 10,900, and don't quote me, but check it. But I know, let's say it's a minimum of 10,000 days. 10,000 days. I lived in isolation. A life sentence is 25 years. So
Yeah.
imagine being imprisoned for 10,000 days and your voice being not heard. You're
Hmm.
in isolation. Nobody knows you exist. And you're going crazy because you're like, man, well, I'm frustrated. I like to call it the stages of grief, right? There's 5 stages. I don't know the actual order, but you have, depression, sadness, fear, anger, bargaining, and then you get to acceptance. And I went through those stages personally. I was bargaining with my identity. I was fearful. I was angry, if anything, because I didn't know why was I created this way or why are people telling me I'm this? I'm not this. I was frustrated. But and I was depressed because nobody would believe me. They would say I'm crazy, or why don't you wear girls' clothes, or why don't you do this? Why don't you fit in? And I'm like, I don't want to fit in because fitting in hurts me
Hmm.
because I'm forcing the I'm forcing the all of me,
Yeah.
and I'm taking it and I'm trying to put it in this small space. When you
Yeah.
look at the universe is infinite. You can't even fit you can't even say what size the universe is because it's so I am that and I come from that. So
Yes.
if I come from that, my being is not meant to be limited. It's
No.
meant to be,
We are
and it's meant
expansive.
exactly. And us as individuals are meant to explore life, not conform in life. So here I am getting frustrated because I'm being taught to conform, and I know there's more to me. And I know
Mhm,
I'm bigger than this. And I know I
mhm,
am bigger than this box, this small box you want me to live my life in. I
mhm,
am, even if I did identify as female, I am more than that.
mhm.
Okay? I
Right,
am a
sure.
PhD candidate. I am this, I am that. I'm an entrepreneur being who loves people. I'm a person who gave the person less fortunate $20 because he said he needed to feed his family. I am more than that.
Mhm.
So, when you think of that, my hardest obstacle was to love myself
Yep.
amongst the differences and learn to not compromise who I am to make people comfortable around me.
Nice. Yeah.
And I had to be resilient over that. And how did I do it? I had to go through experiences. I went through relationships that mirrored the love that I have for myself. So I went through the verbal abusive relationships, the physical abusive relationships, the emotional abusive relationships, and they aren't all weren't love intimate relationships. They were relationships with my parents. They were relationships with myself.
Like you
These
said,
were
with the projection of yourself, because every other human being is, right? I
right.
mean, that's that's what we're doing. We're always dealing with ourselves all the time.
Exact all the
Yeah,
time.
all the
And
time.
when I got tired of crying and I got tired, I literally prayed. And I'm not making this this is where spirituality comes in because I had to pray to the God in me.
Hmm.
And when I say the God in me, I'm not talking about a person outside of me that I'm praying up to. I
Nope.
am talking about infinite being that resides in me. And I
Within you.
define, yeah, within me. And I define God. Listen, we all are made in God's image. We are geniuses. We are omnipotent. And we
Right.
must be
Yes.
disciples of that,
Right.
of ourselves. Be
Right.
disciples of yourself. Know
Right.
that you
Not
deserve
God's
be
image like an old white guy with a
yeah.
with a staff. That's people think we're made in God's image like this big white guy in the sky. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
made in the white guys in the sky's image.
Listen.
I am made in God's, I am that creation, just like you said, I am everywhere all the time.
All the
I am,
time.
I am,
And
I
why
am,
is God every why is God
I
with
am genius. I'm everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
and why is God with you all the time? Because God is inside of you.
God is
You're
me.
never alone. Yeah,
Right.
God is you. And
And I
people
think
say,
it's
"Oh,
important to say that God is not all that I am, but all that I am is God. I mean, that's,
mm-hmm.
like obviously because God's you. So, and you're me, it's
Yeah.
very difficult for people to get their head around that.
Yeah, God said, I am the I am. So when I say I am whatever it is,
Right.
I'm stating God's presence
Right.
first before you align me or put me in whatever you want to put
Which
me
is
in.
why it's so important to be conscious of what you say after you say I am,
Exactly.
because you are
Exactly.
defining yourself as your, I mean, it just, I talk about this over and over again with my people. It's like, please get conscious of
No,
what
yeah.
you say
Mm,
after the words I am. Anyway, yeah, God, we're still on the same page with this. And so then when it comes to this gender conversation or this world of like trying to figure out who we are, for
yeah.
me, I had to land myself in a psychiatric unit. I had like
Mm,
I had to go through all this stuff. But one of the things that I my book is called Lean Inside because I want people to get that there's a power within them. There's greater than any circumstance before them.
mm,
And that's what my whole book is about, that connecting with that inner being that you're talking about. And it's not the training that we've received our whole lives, that classic training of male, female, religion that you talked about, has been training us that we have to look outside of ourselves to that God that you talked about. And so I'm constantly working even myself to continue to come back to my knowing that there's an inner God within me. There's a piece of me that is God, that's who I am. And I think that we as trans people have this glorious gift. And I've talked about this. This is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show,
mm,
because we have this glorious gift. I say I lived in female skin or woman skin
mm,
until I was 35.
mm,
So for 35 years, I lived in woman skin. Then I transitioned and walked around as a man. I say undercover white guy because I was never a man. I'm, It's never a man. I was like, but everybody thought I was. And then when I went off testosterone, now I have this whole other, so I have this glorious experience, right? Of getting to walk through the world as a man, as a woman, as a non-binary human that I get to share. And all of it, through all of it, learning to love myself has been the key. And so that's what I teach when I teach and when I speak. I'm always coming from this place of another level, another layer of learning to love ourselves. And I think again, as trans people, we have this gift of having been thrown into a world that didn't love us. But like that, that's a gift, right? Because then we had to go look, we had to go find it for ourselves. And I think all humans, it's our goal. The whole reason we're here is to learn that we're loved and to learn to love ourselves. I think that's why we got here, why we came here. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, tell me about that. Don't you think everybody's here for that? Not just us trans people. We just have a gift that we got,
Yeah,
thrown into it
I
better.
I truly believe that what's the best way I can describe this here? In order for me, we can all agree that, the most high, however you identify your highest power, you could say it's you, but you're a creator. And I truly feel like I have to be in alignment with the God in me in order to co-create with the God outside of me. Because I do believe that there is a power outside of me. But in order for me to, I have to work with God. I can't pray and send all my responsibilities to Him. I think that's selfish. I can't love a source outside of me more than I love myself. And I have to love me. And I have to love me in order to love God, in order to love my children, in order to love my wife, in order to love individuals. I have to have a certain type of love for me that's infinite. It's not, you don't put a cap on it, okay? And having that infinite love, I'm able to pour into other people with love. I'm able to act out of love. I'm able to be love. I
Mm,
embody love. I'm not trying to do things out of love. I don't have to worry about, oh, you got to do that because that's the right thing to do. No, I'm gonna do it because that's just who I am. That's my essence. That's just my aura. That is just what I do. That's what I
mhm,
love to do.
mhm.
Um,
So I
so
believe
when
we're creating all the time, right? So as
Yeah, you're always
I,
creating all the
right,
time.
you're always creating all the time. So let's create on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and let's create
Yeah.
what we want to create by being in alignment and conscious rather than creating by default,
Mm-hmm.
all the time by not being conscious, right? So
Yeah,
when I'm
because
completely unconscious and I'm just out, yeah, out in the world, I am still creating. I'm just mostly creating chaos and things that aren't serving me and, like not paying attention. So
exactly.
I'm creating constantly. I want to be conscious of what I'm creating. And that force outside of me, I call the law, like the laws of the universe, which we know one, the laws of the universe are the laws of the universe, and you cannot mess with them.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can
no.
try,
Yeah,
like, go
yeah.
try to mess with gravity, go jump off a building and just see.
Yeah, I don't know
See
if they'll
if you
be able
can
to
defy.
see. I think they'll be,
See if you can
they'll
defy. But there's
see if
all
you
these other
survive to see.
inviolable laws of the universe, which I call the force outside of me, which is also that, that oneness. And when I can get in alignment with the law, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
and I call that integrity, right? But every
Yes.
human defines their own integrity, which you were saying, I do those things because they're mine to do, right? So this podcast is part of me being in alignment with my own integrity and my what's mine to do. Like I'm called to do something
Right.
about have always been, and my call has always been towards focus on love, tell your stories, focus on love, and don't resist.
Mm-hmm.
Don't,
Yeah.
because my clients know, and I've because I've hammered into them, what you resist persists. When you
Mm-hmm.
push against it, it's just going to come at you stronger,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Yep.
if you're pushing it, but what you said earlier about if you can identify that resistance as out of alignment because it's not whatever everybody's saying to you isn't fitting with you or whatever's coming up is not fitting, but that's all it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it could just see it and get curious rather than fighting against it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's more possible.
Yeah, and I feel like, don't be um believe in yourself enough to not believe what people automatically tell you, right? I don't. Okay, society wants to say we're transgendered. Okay, yeah, and they associate that term with being a minority or being something less than or inferior or a sinful. And that's their definition. And you know what? I am honestly okay with that. Because my definition of being trans is being triumphant over life's obstacles. That's the T.
Yeah.
Being resilient against adversity. That's the R. And being an authentic, noble success. So if trans is that to me, I think we're all trans. Okay? Because what haven't we triumphed over? What are you not resilient against? And do you not want to be an authentic, noble success? I will hope everybody does. And if not, then that shows where you need to start spiritually when it comes to your inner being. Okay, work on it. We all had to. And if me taking my power back and saying, okay, that's your definition, but this is mine. There's a reason why it's called the Webster's Dictionary. There's a reason why it's called the Oxford's Dictionary because that is Oxford's definitions of terms. That is Webster's definition of terms. That's why it says the King James Bible, okay? Because that is his Bible. So God is made in his image because it's his name on it. So all gods, all people are going to look like King James. I'm sorry. I mean, now if I have a scholarly
I'm gonna read the scholarly Bible.
yeah, you can. That's why it's
My
so
God is a
powerful.
black trans man.
Yeah, exactly. And my
Yeah.
thing is that my transness is just an experience. I was blessed. I feel like being trans, according to what society categorizes this life as, it is a privilege. It is not something to be looked down upon. It is something to be honored about. I am
Mm,
grateful
me
to
too.
be trans because at the end of the day, I can relate to what a female goes through. I can relate to what men go through. And I can relate to what unique people go through. My experiences allowed me to be humble enough to be um, spiritually connected to various beings. If I was raised as a cisgendered male, it takes away from me having to understand and empathize with what women go through. That's why it's easy for you to read this Bible and say that men are superior than women. It was Eve's fault because she ate the apple and then gave it to Adam, and then she's the definition of sin. No, okay.
No.
We're not gonna do that today, at least not in this room, okay? So and that's just how I feel. I feel like my life is just an experience, and I had experiences as a female, and those experiences I had to go through that because now I can empathize with women. I know
Mhm.
what it goes through. I know what type of certain things that you can that you go through or that you think about yourself, and it didn't matter what uh box I wanted to check off, right? I was still going to be a minority in society's eyes. I was a minority being black. I was a minority being a black female. I am a minority as a black male, and I am a minority as a black trans male. So it don't matter what I'm gonna be a minority. Why? Because my experiences, my being does not look like the majority's being. And the majority are the main people. I look at this. I am glad to be a minority because it tells me that I was the person that did not have to shed other people's blood to obtain something or have to take away or make people feel less than to feel some way. I'm not egotistical. A minority to me is the people who aren't egotistical. They're the people who didn't have to do so much to get so much. They didn't have to steal, they didn't have to kill, they didn't have to do all these things to obtain something. So I'll be a minority all day. I'm okay being an underdog. I'm okay, walking amongst the people instead of against the people. And it's because guess what? Jesus did it. He had 12 disciples. He didn't have a whole government. He didn't need to be king because he was king in in his divinity, and
Mm.
that is more stronger than being a king of a government. I'm not trying to tell you how you should live your life. I'm just telling to if you love your life, then I know you're gonna love other people. I know you're gonna do things out of love because you love you
Yeah.
and you hold weight. So at the end of the day, I take these experiences and I'm privileged for it because I said, you know what, they were meant for a reason and they were meant for me to serve this purpose and empower people to be their authentic self. I could see a green person walk into a room and say, man, that's strange, but I love it. I could see me in it. Why? Because I could align at least with. That's why you have to have an inner knowing. I am aligned with how it of being different and accepting those differences.
Yeah.
So I would be a person to be like, you know what? I'm gonna have a conversation with this green guy. you know,
Yeah.
is everybody green? Like, how does it feel to be green?
Yeah. Right.
and not be the ordinary colors, you know?
Yeah.
so how does it feel to be gender neutral and not feel burdened with having to be strong enough or maybe I want to just be a stay-at-home dad. I'm not going to feel emasculated because I don't have a toolkit,
Right.
I'm not going to feel emasculated because I don't know how to change brakes or bang a hammer. I'm not going to feel emasculated. How does it feel to be gender neutral, to really not associate yourself and just be? That's my
Right.
thing. The goal is to be,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. And we call this a gender reveal party because we're revealing gender, not genitals. And those genitals
yeah.
do not need to dictate your behavior. And so I appreciate you so much coming on and sharing
Love it.
your pronouns. I heard myself say, wait, I said, what did I say? Me self, which I thought was interesting, right?
Hmm.
Um, uh, May said, I mean, we could come up with all kinds of stuff with using me, myself, and me, and I don't know. I love that. I love
Yeah.
the idea that you're not being defined by other folks. I also, you and I are partners in the world of spirituality, and
Hmm.
bringing that whole world of spirituality to people, because I just, again, at the end of the day, that's who we are, and we're going to make the biggest difference. Those of us that are focusing on love, continuing to share stories and keeping building these bridges, right? Because I say no one left behind, right? We're going to just keep building bridges until everybody figures out we're all actually on the same team.
Yeah. No,
we're
we
all,
sure we truly are, and
we
that's why
really
you have
are.
to take the time to have that understanding. And when I was looking up pronouns and I saw me myself, it was like when I found out about the transgender nonconforming community, I felt so affirmed.
Yeah.
I always felt that if I tell you that my pronouns are he, him, if I tell you my pronouns are he, him, then you're going to automatically put me in this box. It's going to take away from not me being a her, she, her, but the femininity that resides in me. And if I just say, okay, I am they, them, then it's taken away from all of me. I'm just me. I'm me first.
Right.
And I find that we are more so transcendent in
Yes.
language because
Yes.
I speak these terms. I say I'm he, I say I'm male because it's easy for you to understand. I have to speak your language for you
Right.
to understand me. I'm not saying that I'm this or that. I'm speaking in using these terms so you can interpret what I'm saying.
Right.
So when I say I'm me, myself, and I, it was hard for a lot of people to really take that in because they're like, well, how do I use that in a sentence? Well, the same way you use they, them. Okay, I mean, come on.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
but because that's not grammatically correct, I say, listen, I'm a masculine centered individual, so I don't mind masculine terminology, whether it's
Yeah.
he, him, or they, them. I don't mind that. I just
Yeah.
know I'm not she. I already experienced she, so that experience is out the way. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
Well,
know
and
from
what I
experience
find,
that's not for who I am.
what I find is most people can't grasp beyond what they see anyway. Because when the whole time I was on testosterone, I would say I'm a genderqueer. I'm not a man.
Yeah.
They can't remember that for longer than
Like,
5 seconds when they're looking at me with my beard, especially my thick red
mhm,
beard. And then I went off testosterone. Now I have my lady hips back and my lady butt back, and like the only thing that stayed is my soft beard and my voice,
mhm,
and people still read me as male, and that's all they see. And then when they read you as male, then everything that goes with it, like you said, all the garbage and all the baggage of having to be masculine. And I mean, I remember saying, I'm doing a video on this about classic male training, about how men are so weird. Even men in my family, they're like, well, if you're going to be a man, then you need to be tough. It's
yeah.
like, well, well, you're the one that wanted to be a man. Go pick up that big heavy thing over there. I'm like, I
Hmm.
didn't do it to lift weights. I did it. Just wanted the beer. Can't I be a really Nelly man? Like I was always like, why? And I never wanted to be a man, so I would be like, shut up. I'm half a woman. I'm not doing that. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm not. But
I,
it's
I,
such a weird dynamic that the minute people perceive you as male, they
hmm
expect certain things that again men have been trained into, like you're supposed to be tough and you're supposed to know everything and you're supposed to do all the things and whatever. And I was always like, no, not
yeah.
doing that. But it's always been strange for me because that's people's expectations that if you want, especially, and there's something weird about how guys are about how women show up in their spaces. I was just talking to a 12-year-old who's going to my kid's school, how she's kind of a tomboy and likes to play football, and
hmm
as soon as she plays with the guys, they always have to be better than she is. They can't just play peer to peer, right? They have
hmm
to be better than she is, or put her down, or do something to make it so that it's okay for them to be with a girl and play. And it's like you're 12.
No, for
This is
real.
already happening, and you're 12 years old, and she has to show up better or tougher because she's a female on the field than just a regular old kid on the field, and you're 12 years old. So it's very
Yeah.
strange, these dynamics, and I appreciate you coming because that's what we're constantly unpacking this stuff for people. And most of the cisgender non-binary folks in our world are completely unconscious to all this stuff we're talking about. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
just
are, and it's like you said, it's the teachings. If you're taught since you come out the womb that you're this, because you have these certain physical features, um, then you're taught that it's ingrained in you, it's tattooed in your consciousness and your subconscious that this is what it is, and that's why I said it's a faith that's not acknowledged. It's a religion that's not taught. Gender being gendered is a religion because you
100%.
are you're being taught these practices of being.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is sad. Or even if a female's playing football with the boys, they psychologically they're like, oh, let me not touch her so hard. Let me not tackle her. Oh, she's a female, man. Why'd you tackle her like that? Or dude, we're just playing football. This is how the sport's played. Listen.
Yeah.
Okay, just don't feel no
Yeah.
way when I tackle you. That's how I was when I played basketball. I was playing basketball with the boys, and I was called the tomboys, and I was all this stuff. And I actually liked the name boy. I just didn't know why I had to be Tom.
Right.
I didn't understand that. I didn't know why I had to be Tom. Why I was Tom the name? Why couldn't it be Brit Boy? Like I was just like, or just let the boy, just say boy.
Just
Why I
say
gotta
boy.
be
Boy
Tom?
works.
Yeah, yeah. Ask me what kind of boy I want to be. I'll give you a name. But yeah. So but at the end of the day, I feel like it takes people like us to tell the world that we exist and to not suppress our voice, to empower our youth, to empower those who are looking for their voice, to tell them, listen, I exist, I am happy in my skin, and I am successful in my skin, and it is that transition that has transformed my life, and my transition transformed me. It didn't make me a victim. When I come out of being victimized and I choose to be a victor in my life, then that's why I had no choice but to transition, because transitioning is what saved my life. Because if I chose to continue to conform in life, I would have been another victim and I would have been another statistic and I definitely would have been dead by now. Because me personally, I felt that not being in this body and not living under these practices that society has created for me to live, not living in that, um, having to do that, I felt that, you know what, I'd rather die
Same.
because it's not me and I'm not being me. And every
Yeah.
time I live under these rules and sanctions, it's just killing me.
Hmm.
And it's just their love hurts. God
Hmm.
loves you. Well, if that's his love for me, it
Hmm.
hurts and I don't want it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you could keep your God,
Right.
okay? And I'll be
Yeah.
by myself, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it is. Make the
Yeah.
decision to transition your life. It doesn't have to be gender based. You don't have to align with no gender. You have the audacity and the authority over your life to do that. And
Yeah. I
take
love
your
that.
power back. Take your power back and be you. Listen, I know what you taught me, but that's just not who I am. In fact, I don't want to be neither or because psychologically, I don't want to feel like I'm taking away from the all of me. So,
Love
yeah.
it. So, Dr. Scholar Lee, where can our friends find you?
Yeah. Oh man, you can find me. I have a website www.drscholarlee.com. I'm also going to be starting a podcast, the Dr. Scholar Lee Experience. My life coaching services are www.transparentlifeconversations.com. That's just how you spell it, transparentlifeconversations.com. But yes, you could definitely find me there. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the
Are you
social media
TikToking?
platforms.
Are you
Yeah,
dancing on TikTok and singing
yeah.
and stuff?
Well, I'm learning how to TikTok.
I don't. I'm too old for time. I've decided that over 50, I'm done with TikTok. I
Listen,
can't do another
I'm
social
learning
media
how to
platform.
TikTok. Honestly, but all the social media platforms, just at Dr. Scholar Lee. That's where you can find me and get some of this wisdom, inspiration, and feel empowered about yourself and learn how to love yourself. Okay, if you want to know who you are, come holla at me.
Nice. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I so
Absolutely.
appreciate your message. I appreciate our new friendship. I'm pretty
Yes.
delighted.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Spiritual family. Yes,
For sure.
definitely.
Thanks for being here.
Thank
Y'all take
you.
care and don't forget to subscribe and like and tell all your friends.
Yes.
Love you. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I hope you loved it. And if you did, would you take a second and go do all the things like subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends? Apparently, if you do that, the podcast platforms are more likely to share it. And if you think these stories are important, please take 3 minutes to just go do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, I'd love to connect with you on social. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm at the Gender Reveal Party, and on Twitter, I'm at Prior J. It's a real joy and privilege to bring you this podcast. Come back soon. Love you, bye.